Well, my friends, this sermon did not want to be written. Since I only preach once a month, I usually start thinking about my sermon early and write it days before I have to deliver it, just in case I have to tweak it a little. I started several half-hearted attempts on this one, but none of them got to what I wanted to say. And I struggled with that. Then on Thursday, the rabbi I was having lunch with at our Interfaith Peninsula cohort told me that she thought it was because this sermon was sitting here, and I was afraid to let it go. The message was very important, and I realized she was right. I think I may have been afraid to say some of these things out loud. I don't have to tell you, these are unprecedented times. Those things we thought could never happen here in the United States are happening. And we're in shock and disbelief. I'm not sure if we're shocked because we thought that because we believed our country was exceptional and we wouldn't allow it, or that politicians would pull themselves back from the brink when they saw how devastating this new legislation was going to be, or if it's just because our fathers and grandfathers' generation won the war against fascism and we thought we would never have to face that again. Did we become complacent? Were we naive? Did we miscalculate the effect of legislation over many years that chipped away at a thriving middle class so that life just kept getting harder? Did we not see that the long game calculations of some politicians who were determined to tear down the social safety net? I don't think it's helpful to look at these questions to place blame, but I do think it's important to start to understand how we got here. Sometimes I feel like the frog in the soup pot who only now realizes that the water has gotten too hot. I loved Brian's sermon last week, especially the part where he said he looks at the news and says, "What the hell?" I feel as if I'm living in What the Hellistan. It's a new country that you wake up in daily, where the ground under your feet is constantly shifting to keep you off guard. It reminds me of a popular Netflix series from a few years ago called Stranger Things. Some of you may know it. The story centers on a group of friends who are around 10 to 12 years old. They're typical kids in a small Indiana town. They ride bikes and play Dungeons and Dragons. One day, one of the boys disappears. The friends, along with his single mom and the town sheriff, try to find him to bring him home. They discover that there is an evil force that has invaded the town, and they've taken the boy to a place called the Upside Down. The Upside Down is a place where all the rules are gone, nothing is as it seems, and you don't know how to function. He's trapped there until they can figure out how to trick the force into letting it go. And even when he's back, this evil force just keeps showing up in other places in different ways. A little like today. My friends, we are in the Upside Down. And morals, ethics, and beliefs are being tested. It's hard to catch your breath some days when you see what's being dismantled. Those things we thought that had been established for the common good so long ago are disappearing. Everything's in question now. And it makes you wonder how much you can risk to stand up and fight. But we are Unitarian Universalists, and fighting for social justice causes is who we are. This fight is in our DNA. The Puritans, our direct Unitarian ancestors, came here in search of freedom for religion. And we have always worked tirelessly on the social issues of the day. Clara Barton started the Red Cross. Jane Addams established Hull House to teach immigrant population in Chicago. The early abolitionists who grew into the UU ministers that Dr. King called to Selma to march for civil rights. Our UU minister, James Reeb, was one of them and was murdered the night before the march in Selma. He gave his life for that cause. We've never met a social justice cause we didn't work for and support with our time and our money. We've always believed in building that shining city on the hill. It's who we are. So to see migrants rounded up and others deported without due process, the Department of Education dismantled, veteran services reduced and perhaps eliminated, these are the constant threats that we're seeing, especially to what may come for Social Security. This is not the world we thought we were building. We're feeling a huge sense of betrayal, and when that happens, we first experience shock and a loss of our own equilibrium. Once we figure out how to function again, we experience grief and anger at all that we've lost and all that's changed. It reminds me of a story of Dr. Martin Luther King, who had scheduled a march on the south side of Chicago. But this was right after the Watts riots, when a neighborhood of Black residents were harassed, broken up, and then forced into jail. Young African Americans were angry, and they were tired of Martin Luther King's stance on nonviolence. So they met him in Chicago with a lot of bricks and stones thrown at him. Think of how he must have felt, how he had put his life and his family's lives on the line to fight for civil rights with nonviolence. And it was turned on him. Think of the betrayal he must have felt. We've lost our trust in our government, our neighbors, in some instances, our family and friends, and perhaps even in ourselves. For how could we have not seen this coming to this degree, and why can't we stop it? My classmate, who is a naturalized American citizen from Germany, said that it always irritated her to hear Americans say that we would have stopped Hitler if we were there. We're learning all too well that movements like this are years in the making, and they count on the dissatisfaction and marginalization of some folks who used to have a better life and can't understand what's changed. These movements always find a group of people on which to place the blame, and they always find a way to monetize the warehousing of people, just like the private corporations who are paid very well to incarcerate the migrants or anyone they feel are a threat to the country. Loss of trust comes after betrayal. We feel betrayed by the friends and family who seem not to see the danger around us and think that we are overreacting. We feel betrayed by our government, who are eliminating the programs that were put in place to help our survival and our decent life in our retirement years. There's a moral injury that happens at times like this, and sometimes we think we will never recover our trust again. So how can we start to rebuild that trust? Sometimes you have to strip your life down to the essentials to help yourself heal and to protect yourself from the chaos. And that may mean you don't watch the news for a while, or maybe ever again. And sometimes that means stepping away from your regular routine for a while, if you can do that. When you're ready, you can start with what brings you peace and joy, for you have to take care of yourself first. And that may take some real energy to find that again. Spend time being with friends or on activities that light you up. As you're able, find places where you can be helpful in serving those that are most affected by the changes that are taking place. As you do that, you will find your resolve again and can start to build trust in yourself so that you can meet the day. We are people of faith, and with trust comes faith. They're together. You can trust this community to stand with you for what is right, and to walk with you when you've lost that trust in yourself and the world around you. You're lucky you have this community. It's very special. Rachel Botsman said that trust is a confident engagement with the unknown. There are a lot of unknowns these days, but we are Unitarian Universalists, and living into the questions has never been a problem for us. May we find our grounding in these changing times and face whatever comes with faith, trust, and dare I say, hope, to the glory of life.